Should you invest in real estate or should you pay off your student debt? I've got a special guest coming on today that is in that predicament, ultimately wanting to know, I got the money, I could pay off my debt or I could buy real estate. Which should I do? Let's find out.
'Cause we're gonna be legends. What we're doing here ain't just scary. It's about to be legendary.
Okay, so today I have Erica joining me as we have this conversation about real estate. Should you invest in it or should you actually be paying off your student loan debt? And I know a little bit about Erica's background situation, and so today she's joining me for what I call a game plan. And these videos for me are really fun because I know they help people all over the world just say, hey, if you're even remotely in Erica's shoes or situation, you're going to learn something about a perspective, someone else's standards, the way a multimillionaire views someone's circumstances. And then ultimately we're here to just say, hey, if I were in your shoes, what would I do if my goal was to be financially free and have millions of dollars, right?
Yep.
I can't guarantee that you're going to like any of the ideas, Erica, but I will have some for you for sure.
Okay.
So you ready to play?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to dive in. I'm going to put it on the screen here. I think that'll help us and help keep me straight with all the information that we're talking about.
Okay.
So a couple of things here. Right now, I know that you have a business, and I know that you're also a nurse.
Yep.
And so combined income right now has been pretty strong this last year, right?
Yep.
Ballpark, what do you think your income's been around?
Probably about 120,000.
We have $120,000 of income. And then your credit, where would you kind of put that at?
About a 700.
So by the way, you're young, you have fantastic credit, right? You can buy real estate sometimes with scores of 620 to 680. Once you break the 680 mark, you start entering kind of a new threshold. Anytime you see that number 700s, super positive. So we've got what we call a FICO score. That's the three different credit bureaus that ultimately are saying right now you're somewhere around a 700 credit score. And then you've been setting some money aside for investing in real estate, but I also know that you got some student debt, right?
Yes.
I mean, putting yourself to nurse school, there was an expense there. How much total student debt did you pick up that you're trying to eliminate?
Right now I have about 24,000.
If you were to combine all your other debts, credit card debts that you'd also love to someday get paid off, what
Yeah.
do you think all of that, how much is that altogether?
Probably about 25,000.
So $25,000 in other debt, and then we've got our student debt. By the way, these two things are different from each other. They're looked at differently from in the eyes of a bank, so we're going to separate that out. And then you've set some money aside for investing. And right now you don't have a house yet. You haven't bought one yet.
No.
In fact, you just started working recently, right? Like a little over a year ago?
Yep.
Okay, so
16 months.
16 months, both in your business and also as a nurse.
Yep.
Dude, you have been hustling, girl. It's exciting.
Thank you.
It's a lot of hard work. Does that feel like 2 full-time jobs sometimes?
Yes.
Why are
for
you working
sure.
so hard at such a young age?
Because if I work hard now, then I can set my family up for financial freedom and we can have a lot more options, I guess,
Yeah.
long term.
So that's one of the reasons why Erica certainly resonates with me, because there's this idea that says, I want to be early, right? I don't want to be caught off guard years from now when there's something I could have done today. And so you're paying your dues right now and you're basically working. And let's see if we can kind of enhance the game plan that you have. Because you do have the option of paying off some debt because you've set some money aside in the stock market, I understand. How much roughly do you have there?
Probably around 58,000.
Any other assets or savings worth mentioning?
I have about a little over 3,000 in an IUL and almost 6,000 in another investment account.
And it's something you can access.
Yeah.
So friends, she's young. Some of you watching this might be able to relate. This is just kind of a picture of where she's at. She finally got out of school 16 months ago. She started working, got aggressive, started a job. She has got her side hustle going on. And because of that, she's double dipping, and both of them combined, you've got a great income for being, a young woman. You've got a great credit score, but you've also picked up some student debt, and you've got $25,000 in normal debt.
Yeah.
A lot of people in your situation would think, man, why don't I just take my assets and wipe out all my debt? And by the way, this is popular. In fact, some of us are so terrified and petrified by our own debt that we can't sleep well at night. Where it keeps us awake. We're wondering. We're constantly debating. Oh, man, my debt costs me money. I have to service it every month. Why don't I just wipe that out?
Yeah.
And that's one of the big questions today is that a good idea or is that a bad idea? What do you think?
Well, it's probably a bad idea now that I'm talking to you.
Uh-oh, why is that? What happened?
Originally, I was like, why don't I just take all this and dump it in?
Yeah.
But then, I don't know. I think get rid of that bad debt, maybe
Yeah.
not necessarily the student loan debt.
Yeah. We're going to talk about it because I'm going to tell you right now, if we had met today, but just yesterday, you emptied all of these accounts to have paid off your debt,
I wouldn't have anything to invest with.
no, and I would say today's a bad day. I would say, so by the way, I'm glad I caught you in time to be like, oh, so glad that you haven't done that yet. Now I know some people are watching, you're like, Kris, you crazy. What do you mean? Like, dude, help her pay off her debt, man. This is not the Dave Ramsey show. Sorry, Dave, but it's a different approach to building wealth. And a lot of people, it would feel so good to have that clean slate. But do you know how long that feeling would last?
Not very long.
No, but then you'd have a different feeling that would keep you awake at night. And the question is, which feeling is worse? Having debt to pay off or having had money to invest and now you can't? And I'll tell you that knowing that you could invest and finally have something go to work for you and have it not, for me is a way worse feeling than debt.
Yeah.
So you're onto something with what you said. These two debts are different. This debt, this is a consumer debt. We want to get this eliminated because this student debt is going to be viewed differently in the eyes of banks. It's going to be viewed different by the credit bureaus. They're not expecting this debt. They want to see this paid off. This debt, they're like, she got 20, 30 years. It's okay. She went to college. No one gets out of college and pays off their debt right away. Even though you're making the kind of money that you could, I believe with intelligent investing, you can actually get yourself ahead way further and have your investments eliminate your debt.
So smart.
All right, so here's what we're talking about today. So this student debt, I am going to ignore this and say, please don't pay that off. But we had a brief conversation before, and I know that right now there's been kind of a wrench thrown into the whole thing. You actually went to the bank and said, hey, I'm ready to buy real estate. I'm ready to go. And what did the bank tell you?
They told me that my debt to income ratio was too high.
Okay, and for those of you that don't know, what a bank does is they say, hey, if you buy investment real estate, that means that you're adding debt to your life and it's going to show up on your credit. We're only comfortable giving you so much debt. And so they have a special ratio called a debt to income ratio where they basically say, we're okay with you having a certain amount of debt. And by the way, if the debt is performing income, we'll even give you more debt. Like for example, if I buy a house, that's a debt. But if I show my rental contract and a positive cash flow, they're like, oh, cancels itself out. Here's another house. Buy another house. You can do that several times over. But before you buy your first house, they're not looking at these assets. They are looking at this debt. And here's the real thing that's happening. You've got 16 months of work behind you, which means you've only filed 1 year of taxes. And right now we're at the very end of the year. And literally, if you said, I'm going to jump the gun and hustle through my taxes in January, February, by February, you could have your taxes done. And they would say, now we have a second year of seeing that you're a nurse. Now we have a second year of seeing your business income. Now, by the way, because you went to school to be a nurse, they'll take your nurse income right now. But you've got the other half of your income from your business, which they will not validate until you do your next tax season. I want you to understand this. They're saying your debt to income ratio is too high with only the nursing income. But if you wait 3 months and go back, do you know what they will likely say? They'll now count all your business income, the other half of your income, and they'll say, nope, her debt to income ratio is not too high because your income is going to look like it's about to double to them. And if your income doubles, you're not going to have a problem qualifying. So first piece of good news is just sit for 3 months and everything gets better.
Okay.
Is that a relief?
Yes.
Yeah. No,
so much. So.
It's a huge relief. I mean, that's a super big deal.
Yep.
One of the things you want to know about real estate is you always want to be in the game. You always want to be buying homes because often the hardest part of building wealth is just waiting. Like I buy a home, I'm letting it mature. And then I'm buying more and I'm letting it mature. When they finally do mature, I get a really big check and it feels really good. So you got to have enough patience to say, hey, I'm going to play the game, but I got to do it strategically. I wait 3 months and now all of a sudden a no from the bank becomes
a yes.
Becomes a yes. So that's one option that you have. Okay. There's a second option. The second option is, honestly, I look at this and I'm like, dude, use that money to buy real estate, girl. But let's just say that the bank says, well, Kris, we can actually calculate how much of this debt, not this debt, how much of this debt needs to be eliminated, and then we'll allow you to buy a house. And they might come back and say, well, your debt to income ratio is too high, but if you paid $10,000 off, you could qualify. So we might look at that game plan, and I'm going to give you a couple options today. We're going to dive in right now. I have enough of what I need to know. Let's actually start creating. So option number one is wait 3 months and then qualify. And when you qualify, you can, number one, you can qualify as a primary resident, which means go and buy a house for yourself. It's only a 3% down payment, and if you get a good deal, then you stop throwing your rent money away. You become a homeowner. You start getting the tax benefits, the appreciation benefits. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But the second option right here is also, hey, you can also put 20% down and buy a house. Now, let's look at 20% down. If I scroll back, let me tell you my opinion on stocks, IUL, and accounting. I do like some indexed life insurance products. They have to be designed the right way where I can put my money and get them out because I build these long terms. I would have that policy double checked. I've got an expert on my team who can look at it because you're at the beginning of that journey. You want to make sure that it is the right product for the long haul. Let's just assume it is right now.
Okay.
On the other hand, we've got $6,000 in this account in the stocks. Now, I don't know if you're going to like what I'm about to say or not, but my job is just to be honest and tell you my perception, right?
Yep.
I hate this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Because the stock market, if you take a look at its 8 to 12 year cycle, it's about to take a dip, and in 3 or 4 years it'll recover. But you see, the stock market doesn't give me what real estate can. Real estate allows me to put 20% down and buy an asset. Stock market, I have to put 100% down. I can't go to Apple and say, hey, I'll give you 20 cents for a full share, 20% of the value of the share, give me a full share. They're not going to do that. Guys, we're not here to talk about complicated stuff like options and things like that. In general, the problem with this methodology is this can grow. I'm not saying the stock market is bad, but right now it's a core strategy.
Yeah.
Whereas we can get real estate to produce 20%, 25% every year, and then in 5 years sell it and multiply it and now earn 50% on the same dollar, and then 5 years later earn 100% on the same dollar. Stock market can't keep up. The 30-year S&P average is just under 10%.
Yeah.
So it's not bad, but you're not going to achieve your goal.
Yeah. And my plan was to take that out and put it into real estate. So
there you go. So this is not an uncomfortable one for you.
No.
So 20% down, if we targeted houses that required somewhere around $30,000, between this account and the stock account, you really have enough, I would say, to do 2 properties. So we're looking at a primary residence and up to 2 investment properties. So we're talking about this year going from no homes to 3 homes. Dude, that's exciting. That's a great start.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yep.
Here's the second option. We don't wait 3 months and we find out one of your goals is to eliminate your debts. I will only eliminate a debt as long as it furthers my investment strategy. I will never eliminate a debt in lieu of investing as long as I'm confident with the choice that I'm making. This is definitely a higher risk position than Dave Ramsey would have, but life is short and I don't want an 80-year game plan to get where I ultimately don't want to be in the end anyway. That's a little bit harsh, but I'm allowed my own opinion and magnify it tenfold, and that's how I really feel about it. So the second option here is we do pay down some debt. We're going to do some debt elimination, and that's based on an equation where the bank tells us how much needs to be eliminated. I'm just going to throw out a number that I don't know the real answer to. We have to calculate it, but let's just say that it's $15,000 in this example. If $15,000 allows me to qualify again, then I would, number one, have the option of buying a primary residence. And number 2, I'd have the option of buying a house, and I'm going to have some good money left over in the bank, but probably not enough to buy a 3rd house. Now, there is a 3rd option, but before we do that, I just want to compare these 2 against each other. Wait 3 months and have full access to put your money in real estate, or pay down debt and then buy 2. Which one of these do you think is better?
Probably the first one, because it can multiply faster.
For me, that's exactly the way that I look at it, because you're young, and the 3rd option that I'm going to be talking about is actually developing a track record. And 3 is a magic number in the game of real estate. If you were to tell a friend, hey, I bought my first investment property, do you know how most people who are not investors would react to that? You nailed it. They would totally be like, wait a second, like, what are you doing? Like, are you crazy? Are you nuts? That's risky. No, you should do the 401k IRA stock market thing. I'm like, right, 2 different worlds.
Yeah.
Erica, when you look at that, the reason why they feel that way is because it's foreign to them. And we're a consumer-minded society. We're not an investor, entrepreneur-minded, business owner-minded society. Business owners run the show, but most of us just want to be consumers. So you're not going to like win any fans if they quote unquote kind of find out about it. But this is the point that I'm making. You buy your first house, that first friend says, you crazy. When you go back to them and say, I bought a second house, now what are they thinking maybe?
You're probably even more crazy. But then once you get the 3rd, they'll be like, what are you doing?
Yeah, at some point, they go from you crazy to maybe you're onto something. And 3 tends to be the magic number where doubt shifts into track record. And, so when you do anything that is outside of anyone's comfort zone for the first time, they just label it bad. You do it a second time, they label it really bad. You label it a third time, and now they start doubting. They're like, wait a second. I keep thinking this is bad, but she keeps doing it, so maybe she's onto something. And that's actually when people change their tune. You see, this third option is going to really give me the ultimate answer on this. My third option is, we have, as you're aware, a Maverick program. And the Maverick program basically says, show off your track record to people, and if they choose to invest with me, I'll cut you in on the deal. So now all of a sudden, you can buy real estate with no money and no credit. So Maverick equals, wait, Kris, I can buy real estate with no money and no credit, but what I do need to do is have a little of either convincing power or track record power. Well, between option 1 and 2, this one gives you the bigger track record than that one, because this is 3 homes and this is 2 homes, this is 2 investments and a primary. So this is going to build a lot of confidence for people.
Yeah.
Even if you weren't going to do option 3, I'm doing that one anyway.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people would say, Kris, shouldn't she diversify? Shouldn't she keep some in the stock market? I'm a big fan of diversification, but I believe you have to have enough of a base before that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the first thing I do is I make my first $1 million in real estate. Sometimes even my second and third and fourth. And that's when I start looking into the diversification game.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So you've got some options. I obviously have some favorites here, but the reality is they're all viable. Even option number 3, even if you don't do option number 2, number 1 and 2 is viable. You guys can learn about that in the links below. But in your situation, waiting 3 months is going to open up doors for you. There's something else that I like here about option 1. It's not just having 3 homes versus option 2's 2 homes. The other benefit is I like putting more of my money to work for the gains that I'm going to get versus just trying to eliminate the debt.
Yeah.
I do want to throw in one more thing though, because this is a caveat. Sometimes the devil's in the details. If I were to find out that you had really high interest rate on your debt, and that you were struggling to make enough money to pay it, and you were going to be moving backwards, then I actually would have you do some debt elimination. After this, we're actually going to do a calculation, and I want to know, what does it cost to service that? In your situation, the good news is you're earning really well and your expenses are really low. I would probably just say invest and eliminate the debt with the gains that you get from that. If we found out that you had just some absorbent high rate or really funky, strange terms like a balloon where it had to be paid off, anything like that that's going to put pressure on your real estate. Bottom line is the real estate, when you buy it, I hold it for 4, 5, 7 years before I rotate it again and double it. So I don't want today's financial choice to risk what happens in the next 4 to 7 years. If that debt posed a threat, then I would be actually doing something to reduce it or pay it down.
Okay. Based on the interest rates then?
Part of it is based on the interest rates and then terms.
Okay.
I am going to give you a 4th option.
Okay.
And by the way, I'm doing this because some people literally are debt averse, and my job is not to convince you not to be debt averse. You actually need to do what will be comfortable for you because you have to live in your skin. I don't. And if you go with advice that just feels too aggressive for you and you don't sleep well at night, you're going to ultimately make a decision that's going to hurt the portfolio anyway.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. It's better to get some positive gains like I'm about to show you.
Okay.
So in option number 4, you actually eliminate the $25,000 of credit card debt, and then you buy 1 home and perhaps a primary. By the way, I won't think ill of you if you like this option. It's a compromise that says, hey, you eliminate the consumer debt and you still get to buy real estate. And you know what? That's also awesome. It really now just comes to varying degrees of like, how much do I want to invest in real estate? How much debt do I want to eliminate? And ultimately, the right answer can't come from me.
Yeah.
It's going to come from what will help you feel best. Now, this is going to sound weird. What will help you feel best is all about 6 months from now, you not calling me up and being like, Kris, I know our real estate's performing and we got these houses, but that debt is just weighing on me. And one of my credit cards called me and they, I lost the introductory rate of 6%. Now it's 13%. And if you become a hot mess over it, we made the wrong choice. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You got to feel comfortable long-term with the choice you make, not short-term. So those are your 4 options that I'm seeing here. All of them can lead to way more real estate. 3 becomes 6, 6 becomes 12. Maverick program, you can be buying properties without money and credit.
But really you could do 1 and 3 together.
You could totally do 1 and 3 together. You can pair up 3 with any of these. You could also, 2 and 4 are very slight variations of each other, which is, it'll just eliminate more of the debt and go out and buy. So I won't tell you what to do.
Okay.
It's really more about studying it out, checking in, seeing how you're feeling, and then making a choice that works best for you.
Awesome.
So curious, what do you think about your options?
I'm leaning towards number one
Okay.
because I think long term that will be the best financial decision on my part.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And overall,
and three, but
But overall, knowing that you have many options,
yeah,
how does that feel?
super good.
You know, we feel fear in our personal financial life when we just can't see a way to get where we're trying to get. And that's really what the purpose of a game plan is. So when people
Yeah.
come out to my live events or when they click the links below and talk to my team, I want every person, you even watching this, you have a chance to talk to a highly qualified member of my team to actually do a private game plan, evaluate your situation, and then share some ideas. And usually most people end up saying, oh my gosh, I didn't know this or that. And that's what I love providing people, is just knowing, you know, there's a wealth in options. There's a wealth in knowing that you have more choices. And you
Yeah.
have several. So,
Awesome.
you excited?
Yes, super. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very, very welcome. So guys, this is Erica's story. I don't know what your game plan is, but if you click the link below, you got a chance to actually talk to a member of my team, access some of our tools and resources, get your own private personal game plan, find out what is best for you, or do what Erica's doing, which is come out to our live event. How was that last event for you?
Life-changing. You need to get here no matter what. Don't make any excuses. Find whatever you can to be here because it ultimately can change your life.
She's not being paid to say that, right?
No, no, not being paid.
It really is life-changing. So guys, thank you so much for watching today. Make sure that you subscribe. Please smash the like button. It tells YouTube that this is worth sharing with other people. And we will look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's video.